Yeah.
What's good? It's your boy JayThat'sMe. We're going to get into AEW Dynamite from April the 9th, 2025. A very boring and bland show as per usual. At this point, it is what it is. But there's nothing that can be done at this point in time until Tony Khan is removed from power, and I feel like that will never happen. It just won't. They furthered or tried to further a couple things on this show, but it is what it is. So we kicked the show off with the first match of the night. Jon Moxley defeats Tatsuya Shibata. He put Shibata to sleep with the sleeper hold. Who cares? Post-match, the Young Bucks came out. So then Jon Moxley and Rene Shafir, they bailed. They bounced out. So Nick Jackson, he gets on the mic and says that everyone wants to know why they call Swerve the title. They did it for Hangman. Matt says what they did was a peace offering, since Matt knows how much they have in common, talking about the Death Riders. The Bucks are jealous because Moxie did what they couldn't. Moxie and the Death Riders took over AEW, and they couldn't. But what if the Death Riders and the Elite can work together and form an alliance? Oh my God, no. So Kenny Omega, he shows up and he talks about how he just wants to hurt the Young Bucks. He talked about dogs and stuff, and I don't want to mention. He really just talked about feces, and I'm just like, what the hell, bro? You're sick. This company is ran by a bunch of sickos. So Omega says that the Bucks almost killed the company that Omega gave his heart and soul for. Omega says the time off has done them wonderfully. He said that Nick is 90 pounds and Matt has to lay off the hot stuff because he's as red as Nick's lapels. So Omega basically just wants to cut out the middleman so they can fight. So Omega hits the ring, then Okada's music hits, Okada shows up. Then Swerve shows up to even the odds. The Elite, they all bail. Swerve and Omega, they have a quick stare down. The two of them, they fist bump each other. Swerve gets on the mic and says, it's buck hunting season, and Swerve's got a shotgun. So then Swerve is then attacked by Pac. So Swerve defeats Pac via the Swerve Stomp. And it seemed like Pac got injured somehow. So, it is what it is. At this point in time, I'm a fan of Pac, always have been. But I think Tony Khan should cut his losses with Pac. Pac's been there for basically 5-6 years, and he's been injured almost every year. So he's extremely injury prone, and I don't know why. But I think if I was Tony Khan, I would actually get rid of Pac and just send him over to TNA or back to WWE. I think it's time, because I know people think that Pac was going to be the guy, but he never was. So, at this point, it just doesn't matter. And again, I'm a fan of Pac, but he's extremely injury prone. Extremely injury prone. I mean, he's a buff midget, but damn. Moving on. So this leads us backstage with Hangman Page being interviewed by Renee Paquette. Hangman says he didn't care about the wild card and he's doing something anyway. So Hangman bursts into Swerve's locker room, but Prince Nana is there. Nana says there's something that he wanted to tell Hangman for the last year, and he regrets. And then Hangman says, "No, stop it." And then Hangman cuts Lana off and says he doesn't want to hear it. Okay, that's fine. It seems like both Swerve and Prince Nana are being sympathetic towards Hangman. They're kind of having a little bit of regret, which is fine. That makes perfect sense. Just a little bit. That does good for their character. But, it is what it is. Do I care about this Young Bucks stuff? I don't. I feel like it all leads to blood and guts. I think Swerve mentioned, or he mumbled something about blood and guts after his match with Pac. But I really wasn't paying attention at all. I definitely wasn't paying attention with this stupid 8-man tag with $400K on the line, which we all know is shits and giggles. It's not real. Tony Khan's not going to give these four guys, $100,000 a piece. It's just a bunch of bullshit. The people involved, the Team Ricochet versus Team Ospreay. So Ricochet, the Beast Mortos, and the Crew, which is Leo Rush and Action Andretti, versus Team Will Ospreay, which is Will Ospreay, Kevin Knight, Speedball Mike Bailey, and Mark Briscoe. The babyfaces win. Who cares about this shit? This is lame. It's just kicks, flips, and dives. That's all they did. So who really cares about this crap? I don't. Continuing on. So we get a video package of FTR turning on Edge. So Excalibur tells us that Edge is going to be out indefinitely. Tony Schiavone says that he's discussed it with FTR and that Dax's daughter is even disappointed in them, he believes. So Dax on Collision is going to be pissed about that. My daughter, my daughter, Tony Schiavone, my daughter. Why would you mention my daughter? Why would you mention my daughter? My daughter was off limits. Oh boy. But I really wish we would have gotten an answer on Dynamite versus Collision. Or they could have at least waited until next week to give us an explanation as to why. Because Edge is going to be out probably for a good month and a half. So he probably won't be back until, I would say, the middle part of June. So my thing is, when are they going to take out Christian Cage? Like, they've got to speed this patriarchal betrayal soon. Like, that has to be sped up fairly quickly. I don't know how that's going to play out, but hopefully it does. So, it is what it is. Hopefully, Tony Khan's sorry ass has thought kind of long-term about this, but he probably hasn't because he's goofy as fuck. Moving on. So, the Hurt Business, they're out next. So, they say punks jump up to get beat down. So, MJF shows up. He wants to toast to another title defense. MJF says, we hurt people, right, guys? Instead of doing the Owen Hart Cup, MJF works smarter, not harder. Now MJF is rolling with the Syndicate. He gets a cut in line. This is a perfect relationship. MJF scratches their back, and now they get to help MJF. So Bobby Lashley tells MJF to shut his mouth. Lashley says MJF didn't get the job done, and that's why they don't need him. So MJF and Bobby, they get into a verbal altercation. MVP tries to cool the floor. MVP says it takes 3 thumbs up to be a part of the Hurt Syndicate. MVP gives MJF a thumbs up. Shelton gives him a thumbs in the middle. And Bobby Lashley gives him a thumbs down. So the Hurt Syndicate, they walk off, and MJF is left dumbfounded, which is funny to me. I am glad that he's not entering in the Owen. He's a heel. Why would he? Even though it would kind of make sense for him to enter in the Owen, but it's not really all that important for MJF because of his character. It's beneath him, in a sense. So this is fine. I do like what they're doing with MVP and MJF. I do like this Hurt Syndicate MJF alliance that they're trying to come up with. I think that could be cool if done right. But we'll have to wait and see how stuff plays out. I always say that because you really do have to wait and see how things play out. Moving on. So Penelope Ford and Megan Bayne, they show up. They're backstage. Penelope Ford says that Toni Storm barely survived, but it's going to get worse. The division needs to be ready. And Megan Bayne says she'll make them bow down. Okay, that's fine. They're moving on. Chris Statlander, she advances in the women's Owen Hart tournament. She beats Thunder Rosa, so she won via the Tombstone Piledriver, which was great. I think it's time for Thunder Rosa to test the waters. She's been in AEW for about a good, I want to say, 3 years. And she's tasted gold one time. Is she going to taste gold again? Probably not. I think it's time for her to kind of part ways with AEW and try to see how she would do in WWE or even in TNA. I think she could do well in either promotion. That makes sense to me. I just don't see Tony Khan valuing Thunder Rosa like that anymore. She's kind of played out. It's the same thing with like Britt Baker. You could put Statlander in that boat as well because Statlander, I do like her. Statlander's great. She could be the one who wins the tournament. Could be. I don't know. But I think that Statlander, along with Thunder Rosa, I think it's time for those women to either try WWE or try TNA. I just don't feel that Tony values them as talent. I just don't. Especially Britt Baker. Like, she's not even been on TV in a minute. And I could see her slowly but surely sometime this year quietly requesting her release from AEW, Tony grinning it, and then she could either go to TNA for a little while or WWE. I don't know what the fuck she would do, but that's what I would do if I was Britt Baker. But definitely Thunder Rosa and Chris Statlander, I could definitely see them in either TNA or WWE, mainly NXT for both women. And then maybe about a year or two, they get called up to the main roster. So, yeah. Moving on. Don Callis. Oh, God. He's with Kyle Fletcher and Tenosuke Takeshita. Don Callis says that we're heading to a Takeshita-Fletcher finals, which is a bunch of bullshit. The Don Callis family is now accepting potential new members. Send your resumes, pictures, and bank account numbers to Don Callis. Who gives a single fuck about this shit? It makes no sense because who cares? I think both Brian Cage and Lance Archer are injured. Tony Khan needs to get rid of both of them as well. Who joins the Don Callis family? I don't give a fuck because Don Callis just sucks. He really does. Tenosuke Takeshita is great. I just wish that he was managed by somebody else better. I wish that Jake the Snake Roberts could actually manage Takeshita. I think he would do well under the tutelage of Jake the Snake Roberts. I really do. I think Jake Roberts could bring out something awesome in Takeshita versus Don Callis. Like, fuck Don Callis. Like, Don Callis is just boring and lame. He really is. Moving on. So the Undisputed Kingdom, they show up. They are now the Paragon now. And they say this is just the beginning. Who cares? It's not that important. Whatever. Moving on. So Chris Jericho, he's pissed off. He's here to congratulate Bandito and his stooge mother. But he calls out his family, the Learning Tree. Big Bill says that Chris Jericho is one of the GOATs, and he joined the learning tree to learn from him and not to be his punching bag. It's like, bro, you're 7 feet. You're 7 feet. You could literally kick Jericho's ass anytime you fucking wanted to. And plus, W. Morrissey's muscular as fuck. Like, he is. Like, he's swole, dude. Like, he is. Like, I'm like, damn, bro. No wonder Vince loved him. No wonder Vince loved him. If he and Brian Keefe are out there so Jericho can teach them, then go ahead. But if they're here to get berated, let them know right now. And Brian feels the same way, by the way. That's not why Chris Jericho brought them out here. Chris Jericho cares. He says that it may be Big Bill's fault that he lost his match, but Chris Jericho doesn't believe that. Chris Jericho isn't angry. He's just disappointed. So Chris Jericho grabs the bat and he destroys the set completely, the Geritron. And then he points the bat at Big Bill and Brian Keefe, saying that he'll be back when he's no longer disappointed. I'm like, okay, this is weird. Like, who really cares? We've had so many factions of Jericho, from the Jericho Appreciation Society, the Inner Circle, and now the Learning Tree. Clearly, the Learning Tree has been the worst out of the three. I dug the Inner Circle. That was pretty cool. And the Jericho Appreciation Society was kind of lame as well. But I don't know, man. Do I care about this? No. Because I want Jericho to fucking retire. So apparently it seems like Chris Jericho might want to go back to WWE. If I was Jericho, I would clearly leave and go elsewhere, in my opinion. Moving on. So the Hurt Syndicate, they're backstage. Bobby Lashley doesn't want to talk about MJF anymore. MJF, he shows up. He's confused with what's happening. And MVP says he needs to find out what Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin want and give it to them, because this is a business. They're not there to they're not there to make MJF their bitch. So I do like this. This is interesting, in my opinion. Are they going to do the WWE thing with Miz and Lashley during the pandemic? Are they going to do that? Probably not. I doubt it, because MJF won't let that happen. So I don't know how they're going to have this work. But it's interesting to see how this is all going to really play out. Main event of the evening, the Death Riders, they defeat the Ops. Who cares? I don't care about Hook or Samoa Joe. Shibata, he shows up. He chokes out Jon Moxley. So Marina Shafir, she shows up. And then the Death Riders, they beat down Hook. Claudio unfolds a chair, and he turns it upside down. And he delivers a neutralizer to Hook. So Joe's pissed off. Joe gets on the mic. He says that the Death Riders are acting like a bunch of dick riders because the Ops wanted a fist fight. The Ops versus the Death Riders, and they want the trios titles, and that was it. Who cares about this? I don't care. I'm a fan of Samoa Joe, but I thought that Samoa Joe was probably going to want the AEW World Championship, but I guess not. Do I care about any of this? No, I don't. I'm actually ready for Samoa Joe to go back to either WWE or TNA as well. I think it's time. I really do. I think it's time for him to go back to either WWE or TNA. One of the other. So, Dynamite, as per usual, was not good. I do like the MJF Hurt Syndicate stuff. I do like that. The women's division is okay. The Ops versus the Death Riders, no, I'm not a fan of that. Who's going to face Jon Moxley at Double or Nothing? That's what I'm focusing on. You know? What are we going to do with Mercedes Moné and Athena? I think they're going to face each other next week at Spring Breakthrough. And it's going to be in Boston. So I assume that Mercedes is probably going to lose in her hometown, which is fine. She could easily get her win right back at Double or Nothing. And then from there, they continue their feud where all the gold's on the line. And you have Athena beat Mercedes at All In Texas in July. And I think that could be great. So hopefully they go down that path and route. But we'll have to wait and see. But what did you guys think of AEW? Like, comment, subscribe. Peace.